The Honourable David Parker.
Thank you, Mr Chairman. The point I want to have some more information on from the member and the chair on this occasion is the preamble that we are considering at Part 5 says that this legislation is the only means by which these assets and liabilities of Westpac Banking Corporation can be vested in Westpac New Zealand efficiently and economically. And so when I read that phrase, I thought, what do they mean by that? And so I went to look at the report back from the Select Committee, the Finance and Expenditure Select Committee, and it says no more than that. It just says that it's the only means by which the vesting of these assets in Westpac New Zealand can be effected efficiently and economically. So the preamble says that, and then the explanation of from the Finance and Expenditure Committee in their commentary doesn't say what that means in practice. Now, does that mean it's the only way it can be done tax efficiently? If that's what they're talking about, I want a bit more information about that, because we've had on occasions the banks of New Zealand avoiding their fair tax liabilities and having to be taken through the courts before they will pay their proper tax on their profits, despite the fact that they have made many billions of dollars profit in New Zealand. And I have no problem with them making profits in New Zealand. It's just that when they do, they should pay their proper amounts of taxation. Now, the reason why I suggest I'm inquiring about this is if we're going to be transferring assets across, it's relevant as to the price at which they're going to be transferring those assets in. And I want to be making sure that what's economically efficient from a tax point of view for the bank is actually fair to the New Zealand tax system. Because if they're able to sell those assets in at an excessive value, revalue them in the future, or realise a loss on those assets in the future, and that therefore decreases their future profitability because they've effectively transferred those assets in at an inflated value, realised a loss that they then use to offset against their New Zealand-based income, they would be able, through that means perhaps, and I'm not sure about this, but perhaps to deflate their future income and therefore reduce their future tax liability under the New Zealand tax system. So if that's what's meant by efficiently and economically, then I'm not sure that I agree with it. But I'm not sure whether it is or not. So I'd like the member and the chair to clarify that for me, because the report back from the Finance and Expenditure Committee sheds no light on it whatsoever and just parrots the phrase that is in the preamble itself, i.e. it asserts that it's the only way that it can be done efficiently and economically, but doesn't tell us why that is the case. So if the member could please take a call. I like Minister better. You like Minister better? Well, unfortunately that might be a bit premature at the moment, but could the member please take a call, because I would hope that the member and the chair, as the sponsor of this bill, can inform the House as to why it is the only means by which this can be done efficiently and economically, and if he could tell the House what protections there are in place to make sure that these assets aren't transferred in at an inflated value that puts at risk future tax revenue that would be properly payable on future profitability of the banking sector. Can I turn to another sector, Sir, while I have the floor? Yes, it's true that the New Zealand banking sector performed better than some other sectors, but it wasn't perfect. It wasn't perfect. It did actually require a bank guarantee. It did require the New Zealand Reserve Bank to step in and purchase bundles of securities from the banking system, because the banking system couldn't roll over loans to support those securities that they had out in the New Zealand market. So whilst it's true that the New Zealand banks did better than certain overseas banks, it is not true that they weren't in need of some government support. They did require the guarantee of the New Zealand taxpayer in respect of deposits, both at wholesale and retail levels, and they did require the intervention of the Reserve Bank to maintain liquidity by buying bundles of securities from banks so that they could use those monies to repay loans to their overseas lenders. So yes, it's true that the banking system was relatively sound in New Zealand compared with some of the problems that we had in other parts of the world, but it is not true that they weren't in need of government support, and that I would just like to put that on record, given some of the things that have been said in praise of those banks. It's not a criticism of those banks. I just want to put it on record that they weren't perfect either. It would have been worse had they, in terms of the risk that was faced by New Zealand depositors in the event of default by the bank, had the...
Colin King.
I move that the question be now put.
The question is that the question be now put. Those of that opinion will say aye. Contrary, no. The ayes have it. The question is that the preamble stand part. Those of that opinion will say aye. Contrary, no. The ayes have it. Party vote. I'll ask the clerk for a party vote.
New Zealand National.
58 votes in favour.
New Zealand Labour.
42 votes in favour.
Green Party.
1 in favour.
ACT New Zealand.
5 votes in favour.
Māori Party.
4 votes opposed.
Progressive.
1 vote in favour.
United Future.
1 vote in favour.
Honourable Chris Carter.
1 in favour.
Hone Harawira.
1 in favour.
Members, the ayes are 118, the noes are 4. The preamble will stand part. Members, we now move to debate on clauses 3 to 5. The question is that part 1 stand part.
Mr Chairman.
The Honourable David Parker.
Mr Chairman, the voting on that last part bemuses me completely in respect to the Maori Party. They